And I want to tell you that we're glad to have you among the great and relentless few.
My name is French. Aimé stands for love. Sir is a way that my father and I have always just addressed any male. So if a 3-year-old boy were to hold the door open for us and we're walking to a store, we say, "Thank you, sir." It's like it's automatic. Can you pass the salt? "Thank you, sir." We don't even, it's just
I
conditioned in the
love
mind.
that.
So
So you were rooted in, respect and that, and all the things that matter. It's very important that we convey that message to young men, that to be respectful at all time of all people of all ages, races, creeds, and colors, right? Nationalities, right? I really appreciate that. It says a lot. It speaks volumes to your character, and explains, why you're able to get so much done. You must be find it easy to connect with people, and that's always a good thing. So why don't you tell me, why do you believe you made the cut to earn the title of the Great and Relentless Few? What do you feel that it is that caused you to make it against all odds? What do you feel that it is that you have that makes you unique in that sense? Like hurdles that you may have had to overcome, struggles and things of that nature that made it difficult to get to where you are now.
I think it's all about perspective. And one of the biggest messages that I want to share with people is that I'm not a standout individual. I'm just someone who wants to walk in purpose. Single one of us has the opportunity to walk in purpose, to even go deeper into what amazing means. It's amazing that we're the one sperm of the trillion that connect with the egg. It's amazing that we have tools and resources like Zoom where we still can connect with people on an intimate level. It's amazing that there are people that are still joyful, making big business and career moves through a global pandemic. Like that is what I strive to represent. So that is what will put me in that category.
Absolutely. That is wonderful. A very positive message, which we very much so need nowadays amid COVID and all the other chaos and uncertainty that's out there in the world. The divine gifts theory is something that I'm working on right now, and I believe that we all have it, just as you said. But it's very noble of you and very humble of you to say that, and to say it, with distinction, with dignity and honor, that others can achieve it as well. Wonderful. I really appreciate that. And no wonder they call you, sir, amazing, because that's amazing to have that sort of attitude nowadays, especially. Now I want to talk about your book.
Everyone needs a but heroes are people that we're seeing every single day. A hero is somebody when your car stalled out on the side of the road who decided to pull over, give you a jump, give you a ride to the auto shop, get you some gas, whatever the circumstance was. That person is a hero. Is the son or daughter who runs up to mom or dad and gives them a hug when mom or dad are going through their most stressful situations. A hero is somebody who, when you're going through some type of depression or anxiety and you're down, the hero is that friend, that loved one, that random stranger who may come across you and tell you how special, how beautiful you are as a human being. And that's really the biggest message that I try to display through my book. I talk about some of the situations and circumstances that I dealt with growing up, and some things that a lot of close family members, a lot of people didn't know, emotions, thoughts, struggles that I was going through. So I open up and kind of pull the lens back and actually more vulnerable, so that people can understand that you can be amazing and still be imperfect.
I love that, and it's so profound what you've said, Aimé, and it's very profound, and again, it's very much so needed today. There's just so much going on in business, in relationships. There's so many divorces and things like that. Give me a little bit of insight on relationships.
I feel like it's selfish not to vote. And I know some people may say, "Oh, well, I don't know the details." We've got Google, we've got YouTube, we've got conversations that you can seek out. I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction. Seeking, you shall find. Knocking, it shall be opened unto you. Asking, it shall be given you. So if you really want to know the information, you'll go looking for it. And sometimes the universe, the creator, he kind of just places the people right in front of you exactly at the time that they're supposed to be there. So uh, I don't agree with any particular individual's perspectives because I'm my own person, just like everybody else is. However, I feel like we owe it to, I don't want to use that term ancestors because it seems too far off. To me, I just say I owe it to my grandparents. That's my perspective.
Right. Well, I agree with you on so many levels, Sir Amazing. Because it's very profound. This is a very sensitive time, and this, even for the people who've never voted before, this is the time to vote.
Message I talked about earlier, like everyone has a role in the history of our world. I held an event in my home state. I'm now living in Atlanta, but I was in Buffalo, New York, and had an event with the NAACP and the census where we were giving out information on the census and we were registering people to vote right before the primaries. People have to understand how important it is to vote on the local level when it comes to your primaries, those things that are directly, daily impacting where you live, and how important it is to vote on the federal level, the national level, because it's also connected to the representatives who are speaking on your behalf. For me, I am African American. My father I'm Congolese, first generation, and I'm also the grandson of HBCU graduate. My mother's family is from Niagara Falls, New York. When I think about voting as a Black man, as an African American man, why wouldn't I vote when I know that my maternal grandmother and my great grandmother had their feet in the water at the March on Washington in 1963? Why wouldn't I vote when I know that my grandfather, who was a Howard alum who has had MS since 1969, has done so much with the NAACP in DC, who's done so many things to help provide scholarships, who's done so many things and put into me so many inspirational stories about sustaining success, growth, maximizing your potential.
What sort of advice do you have for people? I know I put you on the spot, but people need to hear that. A lot of people may say, well, he's a bit young, what does Aimé, what does he really know about relationships? And I would beg to differ. You have to know quite a bit about relationships to have gotten this far in your career and to have received this much exposure. So what would be your advice to people that may be struggling through relationship right now with COVID going on? Everyone's getting on everyone's nerve because, close proximity. I mean, we have a little bit more flexibility nowadays, but what say you to them?
I think the most, or in my experience, the most important detail of a relationship is being selfless. However, I want to add to that. In being selfless and being considerate of what you do, what you say, how you think, how that impacts the other person, I think is extremely essential. I've learned. But connected to that selflessness is selfishness. And that selfishness comes from taking care of yourself, self-love, self-care. I live by a philosophy that I've adapted and try to apply to my life, and it is, you can render to God and humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself. So when it comes to a relationship, oftentimes because of our emotions, because of the situations we dealt with as children, because of social media can have an impact on our minds, we feel like we gotta have somebody to hold. But we really need to be able to hold ourselves before we can even invite somebody else in to hold them or be held. And in my experience, that is at the root of so many different relationship issues. And then because when you take care of yourself, then you tie in communication. If you don't have the proper conversations when things begin, I'm a Black man, I'm an African American man. One thing I understand is discipline of the body has a huge impact, because when you take things to that next level, however you want to view it, most of us as creatures of life and habit, there are certain levels of attachment, certain things that are unlocked when we share these type of moments. And if we don't communicate about what the right intentions are, what the ultimate goals, whether it be short-term, long-term, we're really hampering both parties.
Wow. Well, that's very robust, and I guess you've changed everyone's mind. Well, he's young, he's wise.
And to touch on and then get to the energy that I want to share with people, or let energy flow through me that I hope reaches others, is understanding that we all play a role in the history of our world. There's so much going on in the world. I have this "I vote to make a difference" shirt on because I'm in the United States of America, and I understand how important it is that everyone exercises their right. I don't tell anybody who to vote for. You have to do what's right for you, but just do it. Do something. So many times we get discouraged and thinking, oh, well, what I do won't impact. But guess what? If you impact one person, you made an impact on the world. And if every single one of us are doing our parts in our different sectors and our different roles, we're ultimately creating a better atmosphere, a better environment, not only for each other, but for the future.
In Hotep again. So, but I'm not going to take away from it. I really like your nickname, amazing. I mean, with Aimé, you know, there's no better way to phrase it. I mean, it's very amazing, but we have to admit that millennials, you know, we're coming along, we're coming on board and admitting that you guys are just so much wiser than we were at your age. And I wanted to know, speaking about relationships, on that topic, and yes, I'm going to put you on the spot again. I love doing that because I think that's where people really shine, you know, off the cuff, of course, but never anything out of order. So the next question is, who do you admire the most and why? Your mom or your dad?
You're trying to put me on the spot here and make me choose.
We'll edit this part for you, from.
I'm comfortable with my response. I have to say both of them for different reasons. I talk about this in my book. I say my mother is my hero. I grew up in a single parent home. My parents were divorced when I was 4 years old. Watching the drive that my mother had. My mother's owned a home for 20 years. My mother has dealt with venom, lack of respect from so many different people that were supposedly supposed to be close to our family. And I take that personally, because attacking my mom is attacking me. I'm a part of her. And I'm thankful because my mother has a beautiful heart. And that's something that I can honestly say I inherited from her. Then from my dad, I'm Aimé Mukendi Jr. And I put emphasis on the junior because I want people to understand that my father and I have a relationship that has grown and expanded now, where we talk on super philosophical levels. We talk about life to the intricate details.
That's beautiful.
And he's such a skilled man. He's such a skilled person, where he's the only, I put in his Father's Day card this year, he's the only person I know that can talk super technical and philosophical in the same sentence. And that can be applied to the simplicity of gardening and comparing that to any type of relationship situation, whether it be platonic, romantic, business, family, connecting all that together. So I admire both of my parents.
That's
heavily.
Amazing. Okay, so I'll let you get by with that one. That one. It's interesting who chooses both, because I didn't say it's not an option, you know. So I really like that you know, they're both sort of equal, because I'm a balanced person that way as well. I try to give credit where it's due equally, because everyone has equal value in some manner or not, whether we realize it or discovered it or not, you know, is something else. But I really appreciate your sentiments. And you know, before we wrap up, what I would like, or wrap up with the questions, because I want you to, I don't normally do this, but you're such a great guest. I want to give you the opportunity to speak on something that you want to speak on.
But to understand that you gotta believe in you. But to understand that you gotta believe in you so much that others are going to follow up and believe in you as well, because the different acts, the different steps, the different accomplishments, for lack of better terms, are going to start to flow in. But it's constant. You know, the world is always moving. The earth is always rotating on its axis, and that's the type of mentality that we have in our brains. Excuse me, that's the type of energy that we have in our brains daily. And then now it's up to us to just display the actions consistently.
Everything that you said is just so profound and so important.
But for the future, and I like to compare it to trees. I believe it takes an oak tree about 300 years before it maximizes the oxygen that it can create, which means the seeds that we're planting today may not sprout in our lifetime, but it's about those who are going to inhabit the planet after us. That's my mindset. I'm thankful that we have these opportunities to have these type of conversations, and we spread them to more people. And ultimately, like I said, we all play a role, and there's only one you. There's only one person that's going to be able to create the podcast that you want to create and do it the way you see it, because he didn't give the vision to anybody else. He gave it to you. That's one of the best conversations I ever had with someone. It's like, he didn't give it to your mom. He didn't give it to your dad. He's not going to give it to your significant other. He didn't give it to a sibling. Nobody can see what you see. And part of the struggle of what I call it is the shift up.